Oh, there it is.
Hey, folks.
Now you gotta let them. You gotta let them spool up a bit.
I know people got to join.
They gotta join. Act like they care. Oh, we got pens there. Hold on.
See, this is professional now.
Oh,
yeah,
professional.
Yeah. See, I'm making notes and stuff. Can we see how many people have joined? And oh yeah, it's great. My phone's ringing.
You should have turned it on. What's it called? Like I did. Let's see.
You're lying.
I can still hear you.
And I'm saying bye. I'm muting my mic.
All right. Well, I just texted you on the thing.
Oh, I see it.
I don't know how we do that the whole time, though. Is anyone joined? Talk about responsible gun ownership with a patch.
The patches for days.
Yeah, too many. I'm going to give him a few minutes and then we'll hit it. Oh, wait. That's not good.
What, he can't see us?
No, he can't see anyone in the chat.
Oh.
Well, the other thing is, we can also, I don't know what else we can do. All right, I say we hit it. Let's see. You good with it?
Yeah.
Where the heck is this? Give me like 5 seconds. All right, there we are. All right. What do you want? What name do you want to go by now?
I'm just Matthew. That's all.
You want to go with Matthew?
Yeah.
All right. It's Gary Matthew from Dominion Defense coming to talk to you about responsible gun ownership. So obviously, we've had some Supreme Court cases that came up that affirmed that the Second Amendment is a right. We'll read that. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So now that is the right. That is a guaranteed right for people. So that means, with the New York determination, people are allowed to carry. I don't know. I put in my Maryland one. Matthew's going to put
I'm going to put in a Maryland one. I've wanted a Maryland one for years. I've got family that live in Maryland. I try to stay out of Maryland in general. And I think I'd go there a lot more if I could have a gun with me. So,
well, it's not as bad as going to DC where they lock you up for ammo.
Yeah. So things could be worse, but still, steps in the right direction, folks.
I don't know about you. I used to go and take my mom's car and drive into the city so that if my kid knocked over a box of ammo, I wouldn't get arrested for the 522s he knocked over.
Hey, it's crazy out there.
But doesn't that speak to responsibility of gun ownership?
Yeah.
We're trying to talk about how being responsible with a firearm, just because it's a right doesn't mean you can act like a fool and drink and shoot guns and do stupid stuff. You still have to act responsibly. You can't, you can't break the law. You can't brandish a firearm just because you're upset at somebody. You got to have, legal right to do things like that. You can't just do that. So that's kind of what we're talking about today. And I wanted to reference some of the stuff that the founding fathers said about it, because I think there's some importance to it. So George Washington said in the first address to both houses of Congress in January 8th, 1790, he said, free people ought not only be armed but disciplined. What does that mean? You got to have training. You got to know what you're doing with it. You can't just have it and expect it to do everything for you.
So let's break down the term discipline in general. Talking about a discipline is being trained in it, being well versed in it, being familiar with it, being comfortable with it. And the more people that are comfortable with something, the more widely accepted it is in general. Right?
Yep. So Webster's definition is showing a controlled form of behavior or way of working.
Exactly.
So if you ever notice somebody that really uses a gun, they do everything the same. Watch me on the range, and how I load the gun is the same. Check, boom, put it away, all that. That way, I know it's in the same way I want it to be all the time.
And a huge piece of this discipline is safety. That's a huge part of it, is checking to see if a gun is unloaded when it's handed to you, or making sure that you open a revolver and hand it to someone the correct way. Things like that. That's part of having good discipline towards guns.
Yep. So where do we come up with this concept that there's a limitation to how we act with a firearm? Well, one, it's from being responsible. Two, there's limitations to all of our rights. The freedom of speech, you can't run, the old term was you couldn't run into a movie theater and yell fire. So, but there's got to be responsibilities to each side of every right, whether, to us or say anyone, that there has to be, you can't just do what what am I trying to say? You can't act a fool.
So there's a certain stewardship to firearms ownership in general. And I feel like part of it is you are a steward of the Second Amendment by being a gun person. And please don't make us look bad. Don't make the rest of us look bad.
Yeah.
So do things that would make others look well or think well upon us as a group, not just you necessarily. Right?
Yep. And that's where, like, Matthew was talking about training, things like that.
Yeah.
I'll lead to Thomas Jefferson. He said, the difference is ascribed to our superiority in taking aim when we fire. So we're practicing, we're aiming. Every soldier in our army has been intimate with his gun from his infancy.
So it's deliberate. And that's a big thing here, is that you have the exposure deliberately and you're taking the time with it.
Right. So again, talking training, responsible ownership, that where else does that play an effect? Locking them up. You got to make sure they're locked up. If you've got 10 kids at home, if you don't get them used to firearms, if you don't lock them up, you're going to run into bad things. We don't want that. That's what we're trying to show as a family, or as a family. Oh my God. As a group. Well, we are a family. We're family of gun owners. But as a group, we're trying to show how to act responsible. And we've got to be, lack of a better term, almost the city on the hill. We've got to show that we're above what's going on everywhere else in the world.
So don't make yourself a statistic here, folks. And
Yeah.
that's really a thing, because you don't want to give the other side more ammunition, so to speak, against what we're trying to do with responsible ownership.
Yeah. I don't know. Is there any questions out there? I don't know. I like talking about the what the founding fathers said. So let's see. George Mason said, I ask, who are the militia? They consist of the whole people except for a few public officers. So he's saying everybody's the militia. That falls back to what the statements are.
So I think the really interesting part about this whole thing is there are a lot of people out there, especially with recent events, saying that the Second Amendment is outdated, saying that the Second Amendment is no longer a thing, or should be a thing, because how could they have known what we would have available for armaments in today's modern society? But keep in mind that when that was written, everybody was on the same playing field. Everything that people were fielding was military grade. People could carry the exact same stuff that people were fighting with. So as technology has increased, that has stayed the same, that people are still getting the same kind of stuff that they had, that the military would have had.
Well, that's Miller in the Supreme Court was the Miller case.
Yes.
And Miller allowed that us as individuals could have what the army or what the militia could carry.
Exactly.
So any of those things that were viable allowed us to do that. And that's a huge factor, because we've got again, responsibility with it. We've got to, we've got to take that stewardship, as Matthew said, and ensure that we're doing this right.
So, the other thing that I really want to talk about is that any of you folks out there that happen to be local to Springfield, Lorton, Virginia, are welcome to come over and get a patch. Check out what we got. Boom. So these are little morale patches, Velcro. We'd be happy to give one to you. So if you come into Dominion Defense and you say that you saw this, we'll give you one for free.
Or shoot us a thing on any of the socials. I'll mail it to you. It can't cost that much.
So we want to reward you for coming in here and viewing this and being with us. So we'll be happy to give you one.
And a shameless plug, on August 13th, we're going to have a training class here that's going to incorporate DC, Virginia, Maryland. We're also going to have a person here to do the fingerprints for Maryland so that you can obtain your carry permits. Another part of responsibility, I guess, is following the law. I don't know. I figured if the Second Amendment's the Second Amendment, we should be able to carry a gun. But right now we have to play by the rules. And the rules are we're going to have carry permits.
And the rules are getting a lot more in our favor, actually, by saying that, the whole may issue versus shall issue thing is gone now. So as long as you can take the class and you can fill out all the right stuff and you can meet the requirements of the state of Maryland, they're going to give you a permit, which is not the way it used to be. It used to be that they'd give you one if they felt like it, if you had a really good reason. But nowadays, as long as you can do all the right stuff, they're going to give one to you.
Which
and
I
that's
think
great.
I think we should overwhelm their system.
So
we should fight so that we fill it up.
And there are some states out there that are constitutional carry. They don't even have a permit. They may issue a permit to their residents in case they travel. But a lot of states, like West Virginia, for example, there's no permit needed. So,
or what we saw in Wisconsin.
Yes, exactly.
Now let's speak about responsibility there.
Yeah.
You had a gentleman that was 22 years old.
Indiana, not Wisconsin.
Indiana.
Yes.
22 years old, fired 10 shots, scored 8 hits at 40 yards.
Yes. I don't know if I can shoot that well.
I've seen you shoot. You can shoot that well. I'm not on the other side of that.
I was just going to say, but under stress is a completely different situation. You know what I mean? So, that's impressive, though.
Right.
But really what we're seeing is guns are becoming more commonplace. And whether people like it or not, they're not going away. The cat is long out of the bag. There are probably more guns than people in this country. And they're, behind the blades of every piece of grass. So really what we're saying here is that, some people want to restrict all this stuff. But the truth is, management is really, more than, I should say that, people want to restrict it, but really want to manage it too. So, they're not going away. And that's just a fact of life. People are like, oh, we'd love to ban guns and all this other stuff. It's not feasible.
It's not going to happen.
It's really, I don't see that happening,
It can't happen.
I think it's far too late for that.
They banned them in Japan.
Yeah. And
some guy went to Home Depot and bought all the parts he needed.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then, with the advent of 3D printers too. So, 3D printer goes burr, people can 3D print stuff these days. So the cat's out of the bag, guys. So what I really want to say is that please do things the right way. Please do things legally. Please do things the way that are going to make the rest of us as a gun collecting public or gun owning, gun carrying public look in a good light.
Yeah. All right. I think that's it.
So anybody got any questions while we got you on here? Anybody coming through? Okay, let's look at the chats. Okay. Okay.
All right, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's all right. Leave a question somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Shoot us a DM on Instagram. Shoot us something.
And we look forward to having a lot more of these. We're trying to do these. How often, Gary?
After every Chantilly.
Yep.
Every Chantilly gun show, we're going to do Wednesday night discussions. It'll be short format like this, where hopefully if the podcast ever gets off the line, we're going to be doing a little more longer format.
So we're trying this as kind of a shorter thing because a lot of people can swallow maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes. It's not as much of a thing as, sitting down for an hour and watching somebody. So a lot of people have, 10 or 15 minutes in their day to, to talk about stuff like this or, hear our opinions, give you something to think about really when you're driving to work.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you.